dive into the silence that reverberates within the royal corridors. This silence, my dear listeners, is not an ordinary one. It is a silence that reverberates with accusations and unanswered questions, a silence that has become the elephant in the room. It is the silence of Charles and Kate, who stand accused of making troubling comments about Archie's skin tone. Since the day those accusations were made public, the world has been waiting for a strong denial, waiting for someone to step forward and say, "No, this is not true." We've been waiting for a palace aide, a royal source, even a favoured journalist to step up. But instead, we've been met with a wall of silence. Even those who have long defended the institution, like Tom Sykes, have not written a single line to clear their names. The silence is so profound, so all-encompassing, that it begs the question, why has there been no denial? Charles made a subtle move, a faint ripple in the silence, by leaking letters he and Meghan exchanged to the Telegraph. In these letters, names were supposedly listed, an attempt to distance himself from the accusations. But a leak is not a denial, and this silence continues to echo. Neither Charles nor Kate have used their powerful media networks to unequivocally state that they weren't the ones who made those comments. The palace, quick to correct stories about trivial matters like haircuts and fashion choices, has remained eerily quiet on this front. This silence is consistent, a pattern that emerges when accountability is called for. It's a silence that becomes more pronounced when juxtaposed with how comfortable Kate appears around figures of power, like Trump. The silence, they say, is deafening. And in this case, it might be revealing too. For in the end, it's not just about what's said, but what isn't. The lack of denial tells its own story, and the public, ever watchful, sees it. Subtle moves often speak louder than grand gestures. In the world of royal politics, this adage rings particularly true. When the whispers of controversy began to swirl, Charles, ever the diplomat, did not rush to the defence with a loud proclamation of innocence. Instead, he chose a quieter path, one that allowed him to maintain a semblance of dignity while still attempting to shake off the tarnish of scandal. In a calculated manoeuvre, Charles leaked a series of letters to the Telegraph. These letters, supposedly exchanged between him and Meghan, were said to contain the names of those who had made the troubling comments about Archie's skin tone. This move, subtle as it was, carried a clear message. Charles was distancing himself from the controversy, establishing a boundary between the accusations and his person. Yet for all its strategic planning, this move was not an outright denial. It was a deflection, a redirection of attention, but it did not say, in unequivocal terms, "I am not guilty." This lack of a clear denial is significant. It speaks to a certain hesitation, a reluctance to draw a definitive line in the sand. In the grand scheme of things, this subtlety, this half-step away from the controversy, does little to quell the rising tide of suspicion. It only adds fuel to the fire, casting a larger shadow of doubt over Charles and his actions. Even in the midst of this tempest, the royal palace, usually so quick to correct any minor discrepancies in public narrative, remains eerily silent. Stories about haircuts, clothes, or trivial scandals are addressed with swift precision. But on this matter, a matter that strikes at the heart of the royal family's image, there is no correction, no clarification, no denial. This silence, this subtle distance, paints a telling picture. It's a dance of subtlety, a game of shadows, but no clear denial. It's a silent narrative that tells a story more potent than any words could ever convey. A dance of subtlety, a game of shadows, but no clear denial. The silence, it seems, speaks volumes. Powerful networks, yet no powerful rebuttals. That's the paradox we find ourselves in. A Charles and Kate, who command the attention of the world's media, yet they remain curiously silent on a matter of such gravity. When it comes to correcting stories about haircuts, clothes, or even trivial scandals, the palace is as swift as a hawk diving for its prey. But on this issue, one that strikes at the very heart of their reputation, their silence is deafening. Consider the fact that neither Charles nor Kate has used their formidable media networks to clear their names. No categorical denial, no vehement refutation, not even a subtle hint of disagreement. It's as if a giant curtain has been drawn, shutting us out from the truth. One might argue that silence is not an admission of guilt, and indeed it isn't. But in the court of public opinion, where perceptions are shaped not just by what is said, but also by what is left unsaid, silence can be a damning indictment. In the world of the royals, where every move is scrutinized, every word dissected, the absence of a powerful rebuttal can be seen as an attempt to let the story die a natural death, to let it fade away into the annals of forgotten scandals. But the public memory is not that short, and the question remains, why the silence? It's a question that continues to echo in the corridors of power, bouncing off the gilded walls and priceless artifacts, seeking an answer that never comes. The silence, it seems, is not just a strategy, it's a statement in itself. And so we find ourselves back where we started, with a powerful network, but no powerful rebuttals. A paradox that continues to baffle us, to frustrate us, and to make us question the very fabric of the narrative that has been woven around us. When the powerful are silent, the silence itself becomes powerful. And in this case, the absence of a powerful rebuttal has arguably become the most powerful statement of all. Comfort in power, discomfort in accountability. This is a dynamic we've seen play out time and time again, most notably with Kate. When you think of power, you might imagine a regal figure, a leader, a person who wields influence. But power isn't just about holding a high position or having a grand title. It's also about how you use that power and what you choose to do, or not do, with it. Take a close look at Kate's interactions with figures of authority. She's at ease, comfortable, even relaxed. A prime example is her comfort around Trump. She didn't shy away, didn't falter. She was in her element, basking in the glow of power and influence. This comfort in power, however, is only one side of the coin. Flip it over and you'll find a stark contrast. You'll find a discomfort, a disquiet when it comes to accountability. Remember those troubling comments about Archie's skin tone, the ones that caused an uproar, that demanded answers, that asked for accountability? Where was the comfort then? Where was the ease? It was nowhere to be found. Instead, there was silence. A silence that was deafening, a silence that was telling. A silence that, in its own way, spoke louder than any denial or any confession could. This pattern is consistent, and it's concerning. It's a pattern of silence when it comes to accountability, and ease when it comes to power. So what does this tell us? It tells us that power can bring comfort, but accountability, that's a different story. It's a story that's harder to face, a story that's harder to tell. It's a story that requires courage, honesty, and integrity. And in the end, it's not just about the comfort found in power. It's also about the discomfort found in accountability. It's about the silence, the evasion, the refusal to take responsibility. It's about the story that's told not through words, but through actions, or in this case, the lack thereof. Power brings comfort, but accountability, that's a different story. In the end, it's not just about what's said. Silence, they say, is golden, but in our narrative today, it's a bit tarnished. As we navigate the royal labyrinth, the absence of denial becomes a statement in itself, a story left untold and yet told in the most profound way. It's an echo in the marble halls of palaces, a whisper in the corridors of power. This silence, it's not an oversight, it's not an accident. It's a choice, a conscious decision to let the accusations linger, to let the public draw its own conclusions. And draw we do, like artists sketching out our interpretation of the world based on the clues we're given. The people, the public, the world at large, we're not just passive observers. We're participants in this narrative, and our perceptions matter. We're not just consuming the story, we're shaping it with every tweet, every blog post, every discussion at the dinner table. In the quiet, we're asking questions. In the quiet, we're seeking answers. And in the quiet, we're forming opinions. Opinions that echo louder than any official statement, any press release, any royal decree. So why the silence? Why the lack of denial? Is it guilt? Is it indifference? Is it a strategic move? We may never know. But what we do know is that this silence speaks volumes. It's a narrative that's as loud as a royal fanfare, as clear as a royal decree, and as significant as a royal birth. It's a narrative of power, of privilege, of responsibility. It's a narrative of accountability, or the lack thereof. It's a narrative that's reshaping our understanding of the monarchy, that's challenging our perceptions of power and privilege. The story is not just in the words spoken, but also in the silence maintained. And in the silence, a story unfolds. A silent narrative, a story that's heard around the world, a story that's changing the way we see, the way we think, the way we perceive the world of royals.